My name is Leisha Khan. I'm one of the office hour leads. We only have part of our usual housekeeping deck, so I'm going to walk through some announcements, and then I'm going to turn it over to Chris to go over the actual house rules, and then Chris will take it away as our moderator. So welcome to the February edition of the Adobe Champion Office Hours. This is your place to ask all your questions and tell us how much you love or hate Marketo in honor of Valentine's Day, that is tomorrow. In terms of big events that are coming up, we have Adobe Summit, obviously happening next month, which is very exciting. You can see all the details for Adobe Summit at their website. If you have any specific questions, just feel free to DM them to me in the Zoom chat, and I can definitely find you the right person to answer them. In terms of upcoming mug events, we have quite a few of them coming up, and I'm going to drop the link to that in the chat as well, so you can find what the next ones are. And then with that, this is a recorded event. So if you are not being comfortable, if you're not comfortable with being recorded, you're welcome to leave. And oh, there we are. All right, you know what, Chris? You got the important slides, so I will let you take it from here.
All right, thank you so much, Aisha. Welcome to Office Hours. Like Aisha mentioned, this mug meeting is being recorded so for the future use of the Marketo community, including all of y'all. And let's go quickly through kind of some of the house rules. So this is intended to be a safe space for you to ask any and every question that you have of the panelists. This is an amazing panel we have here today. But with that being said, typical like of every mug, no self-promotion, no pitch slapping of any kind. Please don't contact people outside the user group. And this is essentially a safe space where you can share your use cases. So what is shared here stays here. So this is Vegas rules. So, and then I'll go ahead and kick this off. I'll introduce myself, and then I'll ask the panelists to introduce themselves. So I'm Chris Willis. I am a GTM operations consultant. I own a company called GTM Wranglers. And I've been using Marketo since about 2012. And also on the announcement side, so speaking of Summit, so Josh, one of the panelists on this call, and myself are going to be doing a skill exchange session, which you should definitely attend if you're at Summit. Yeah. So that's on Thursday. So with that, Josh, want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Josh Arrington. I am Partner Chief Marketing Technology Officer for Kapturall Solutions. We're a Marketo agency. I am based in Valencia, Spain, and yeah, I've been using Marketo for, I think, 12 years now. Yeah. Love it.
Right. Miray, do you want to take it on?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Miray Vu. I'm a Senior Marketing Operation Manager at Qualcomm. My responsibility is totally Marketo. And I've been using Marketo a little over 8 years. And like Chris, I'm also a speaker at the Adobe Summit. If you guys want to know a little bit more about executable campaigns, you should attend. So.
And Lucas?
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Lucas. I'm the Director of AI and Automation at Revenue Pulse. We are a Marketo agency, and I'm mostly focused on automating and bringing AI to marketing automation in our projects. I'm based in Brazil, and I've been working with Marketo for around 5 years now.
All right. Last but not least, Darshil.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everyone. This is Darshil. I work as a senior consultant at Deloitte, and I started my career after my college right with the Marketo. So very much in love with this platform, and I am a multiple times certified architect, multiple times certified expert, and 3 times champion as well. Very active on the community as well, and yeah, so happy and keen to answer your questions today. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining in, everyone. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to direct the first question towards Darshil. So we'll start with our first theme. We have a number of best practice questions that have been sent to us. And we got a question about the best way to implement communication limits to address promotional emails and nurtures. Our company is constantly dealing with over communication. We need to set priorities. What is the best way to facilitate that within our Marketo org?
Great question, and we have been seeing a lot of similar questions asked multiple times on community as well. So, and I am happy that you know that at least you know that your users are suffering, like your recipients, I would say, are suffering from the over communication on like email fatigue. So that's, I think, job half done. So what I would recommend is, and the first things first, there is no communication limit works for all kind of thing. Based on your specific database, based on the recipients you have, their preferences, your industry, your organization, products or services that you are marketing. These are some of the factors, and I would say there are many more, including the content, like type of content and which you are sending. These are some of the factors on which the communication limit should depend. But ideally, I would like most of the instances that I have seen and implemented, we have limited the communication limit to 1 email per day, and then 1 to 2 email per day, not more than that, and 5 emails per 7 days. That is something that's been working for most of the Marketo users, I would say. Once again, I'd like to mention that this is not something that would work for everyone, but one way that you can, I would say, see if this works for you or not is add a communication limit, see if that is helping improving the engagements. Are you still seeing or noticing the over communication issues? Is it getting better or not? And is it's the perfect communication limit is something like you might not be able to achieve that in one go. It's a journey. So I would say like constantly monitor the email engagements and constantly, at a regular period, if you see that the email engagements are dropping, you can, change the communication limit in a way that suits your audience in a better way. So yeah, and it's definitely not something that you should set it and forget it. You should constantly, see if it needs an update or not. Hope that's helpful.
All right. Anybody else from the panel want to jump in? We'll go to the next question.
Yeah, I just wanted to add quickly that many times using something like a marketing calendar is very helpful, so you can control your communications before Marketo, but there is no magic, right? As Darshil said, it's something that you have to test a lot, and you also have to keep evolving and testing new ways to do this. But I've seen many companies with a good marketing calendar to achieve good results too.
Yeah, I definitely second that, especially if you're like trying to schedule like highly important emails that you want to make sure get out. Make sure that you do like maintain a calendar, whether that's in in the Marketo calendar itself or within your kind of campaign ops process.
Watch those operational emails as well.
Yep.
Make sure only the right people have permission to set emails as operational, and make sure only operational emails are set that way.
No, good point. Especially, I know you're in Europe, so you have to watch that GDPR compliance really closely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go to a similar topic about the best practice suggestions for setting up a re-engagement campaign. So we have somebody that brought up a question about, they want to start a purge of their inactive contacts, but they're finding that some of their leads may have been fatigued, and they want to make sure that before they purge the leads out of the database that they've given them an opportunity to opt back in. Miray, do you want to take that question?
Sure. Yes, for the re-engagement campaign, I will definitely look for the not only the email open or click, but all over the activity, meaning that if they are visited your website, it's if they attended your webinar, fill out the form, or they had some engagement through the social channels, any activity should be considered for being active versus inactive. So, and also I like to set the inactivity, to look for the 6 months. I think 6 months is at least our company is a great timing, because if you're gonna go a little bit more than 6 months, you might gonna to start the targeting to people, and especially if you don't have any system to verify the email for the inactive emails, right? So and then again, if you're going to go lower than 6 months, you don't know the person's situation. So looking for all the activities, set up your 6 months time frame, and then the re-engagement campaign is, in my eyes, you try to take back the people who have literally no activity with you. So the expectation is not going to be so high. The probably sending the emails, those people, the open rate is going to be maybe very low, but any open rate is a gain back, it's a win, because you are winning those people over being very inactive. And then the inactivity emails should not be very often, because these people already been very cold and you don't want to bother them so much. So it's gonna make sure it's probably gonna to make them more annoyed. So I think that the 3-4 email, it's again the good for our situation. Some companies might gonna try more, but if you're sending the 3-4 email and there is no opening to email, there is no activity being the recorded, I think those leads are totally dead for you. Again, this could be changed for the timing frame and everything, but this is what I find it as a best practice for our situation.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right. So the last question on best practices is around segmentation best practices. Who wants to take that one on? Darshil, you want to start?
Yeah, for sure. So there are a lot of best practices that go around segmentation, but I would like to cover some of the primary segmentation best practices. So segmentation, as you know, and I'm sure most of the users would know, unlike smart list, segmentation runs segmentation updates, they run constantly in the background. So if there's any data value change in your database, Marketo sees and checks if the person segmentation, and this applies across all the segmentations that you have in your database, whether or not that person's segment has changed or not. So this is an always on activity that goes around in your Marketo instance. So one thing that with that knowledge and with that in mind, I would like to suggest is that keep your segmentations to limited. You would also want to have your segmentation logic not too complex, because that's only gonna add consume your Marketo processing power and resources, and that might delay your segmentation updates, and which might also eat up with your campaign execution time down the line. So know when you really want to use segmentation. If there are use cases where you just want to create a targeted list of people based on certain criteria, segmentation might not be the best resource. You might be well off with a smart list, which only refreshes when you load the smart list, or when it's being accessed by any of the assets within Marketo. Could be like a campaign, etc. And one more thing that I would like to add is when you approve your segmentation, make sure you have tested it properly. And we also found a question in the Marketing Nation community wherein user was having issues with the segmentation and dynamic content. Ultimately, they found out the issue was that they didn't know that the segmentation follows top-down approach. So if you have multiple overlapping filters, make sure the order of the segment is the exact order which you would want the system to process the lead against the rules. So if Marketo finds the match with the first segment, it's not going to check for these next segmentation, like next segment in the order, whether it matches that or not. It's going to simply assign the person to the segment number 1. So that I would say some of the best practices that I would like to share. I'm sure there are many others that I might have missed. Would see if anyone else on the panel would like to cover. But hopefully that helps. Thank you.
I would say that segmentation is way more powerful than I think people give it credit for.
100%.
And naming the segments, I would keep them very simple, usually one word if possible. And the reason for that, I say that is because we often use it, and I think many people don't know this is possible, but if you have a landing page, you can put the segment as a URL parameter. And so you can have people who aren't in your database and send them to a page and have it translated into a specific language or set to a specific locale, whatever you need, just by that URL parameter.
I find it something very helpful again for because we use like the segmentation for, especially like we created marketable segmentation. We are adding the number for the segmentation before that one wording, because you don't know, like if someone's gonna have the access to change the segment and then they change somehow the order, you might not know, but that number really helped to keep it track, and you know that your segmentation group like the by number, so you can easily like point it if something's not working correctly.
That's a good one.
Very good.
Pointer. Yeah. One
Yeah,
last
one thing
thing.
I would, go ahead.
Yeah, please. Yeah, sorry, I was just gonna say that for segmentation, a lot of users don't do is that they think it of as a like set it and forget it kind of thing. So segmentation is something not it doesn't work that way. So if your if there are more fields that you add to your progressive form of field, or if how you process your data or any strategy related to your marketing, how you handle your marketing data changes, that would mean that you would ideally audit your segmentation and see if those segment criteria and logic requires an update or not. So periodically auditing your segmentation, the criteria, the rules, and see if you require an update or not is something that I would also like to add as one of the best practices.
Yeah, and I would also suggest, like, because it is very powerful, because segmentations will hit up against the entire database, that like think about like the strategic purpose for why you're executing that segmentation. I've seen a lot of in a lot of orgs where segmentations were created for like very single like campaign purposes, and then you can end up having a lot of junk in your segmentation tab when it's being developed for like onesie twosie purposes. So think about like strategic segmentation, how you're going to personalize your communications, what types of things you need to run faster in your smart lists. I particularly like managing deliverability and marketability out of a segmentation for that purpose. But make sure that like the use case you have for your segmentation is something that's going to last beyond like the quarter or a single campaign.
Oh.
I'm gonna go back to the previous question. There were a couple of questions that were posted in the chat around re-engagement campaign. So when you run a re-engagement campaign, and I know this is a very tricky like topic given like a lot of the spam filtering that's happening within G Suite. What kind of messaging should you would you suggest for a re-engagement campaign to make sure that you're not getting marked spam, you're not hitting spam filters, and you're getting the type of engagement you want?
Well, first of all, the subject line is very important. So I always tell my marketer, I'm not a content creator whatsoever. I cannot write anything. But I was telling them like, let's find something catchy and like standing out from the other emails, because everyone's like, including us, getting million emails in a day. So something's important. And then for the content, switch short, and there is a click on the like something, like it needs to like to tell you something to do in order to like to consider that as an engagement. And same thing, probably the last message is if the person already didn't, because if the person start to be inactive, you should not, like you should stop that point. Like you should not send it your re-engagement email like the second, third, or fourth. But you are in the very last email and nobody have any activity, you're probably gonna send it, well, we are very sorry that you are leaving us, but that's very like the end message.
Cool. And another question in the chat around the communication limit is they currently have a nurturing campaign running, so they've got an engagement program up and running, and they want, like if they've got a batch and blast email, they want to make sure that they've fully run through the nurture before they get those batch and blasts. So what would be the best way? How would you advise them around like planning around those bits and pieces there? So this is the question from a Akshat in the chat.
Do I need to add more details?
No. You may want to add a few. I'm thinking through, like if you're sending a batch and blast email, like essentially that email's like going to go out to the audience that you have selected. So there's a couple things you could do. You could pause them in the nurture, so that you're not getting competing communication. That's one approach you can take. The other approach you can take is to break up that batch into multiple batches so that you're checking for people who have like exited or exhausted the nurture and sending a couple of batches to that audience. But probably if I'm thinking about like communication limits, my advice would be to go ahead and pause your nurture if you can, and send that batch where you have like a gap in time where that's the only communication that they're going to be eligible to get.
Yeah, and one more thing that, if I understand the question correctly, one more thing that Akshat can do is he can like create an operational campaign within the nurture program that would add people to a static list once they are done, like once they have exhausted the content from the stream, so or from the engagement program. If they have like multiple streams, and use that static list as an input for their batch campaign. For blast campaign, ultimately, as Chris said, you would have to like time it properly. But if you have like a batch campaign that's recurring weekly, like you are running the campaign on a weekly basis, you can use that static list as an input to your like batch campaign. And whosoever is sent that email via the batch campaign, after sending the email, you remove them from that static list. So next week, you have like fresh set of leads, or maybe you can update your qualification tools of the batch campaign to allow people to run through it only once. So yeah.
Okay, so like a requirement was that when we run the nurturing campaign, we just want that leads to fall under the nurturing, and they shouldn't be receiving any of the batch and blast campaign. So we just want them to
Okay.
exclude from any of the batch, and they should just flow through that nurturing. That's what we want, because let's say we just have like 10 to 15 people falling into that nurturing campaign, because we don't have that much audience size for that nurturing. So we just want to exclude that 10-15 leads from any of the batch and blast for that certain period of time until they exit the nurturing campaign. So that's what our goal is. So how do we exclude from all the batch and blast moving forward until we run that nurturing?
You
You
could
can
Well,
not
create a suppression
it.
list. Yeah,
yeah,
like
if you have, in my opinion, if you have one nurture, you can easily use like the exclude that member of the nurture campaign. But if you have multiple nurture stream, you might want to create a one custom field and update to like the people like the, hey, this person in this nurture, and then you're just going to use that as a filter from any of your email to exclude if they are like to have that specific field. So that's probably the best way you can go.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Thank you guys.
You're welcome. So I'm going to move over to some of the pre-submitted questions. I'm seeing some questions in the chat. We'll definitely get to those questions. There's been a couple of questions about some of the new features that are being built into Marketo. And there was a couple of questions around like the new email editor and some of the capabilities that are in there. So I believe it is live, but we're like, they haven't turned on the AI features yet. Josh, you want to talk a little bit about the email editor and some of the capabilities that we're going to expect out of it?
Sure. As of February 5th, I believe, anyone who has gone through the IMS migration should have the new email editor. So if you go into the Design Studio under email, you'll see two options. You'll see email and email new with a little blue new next to it. Same thing with the templates. And then you'll also see the fragments section. I won't go into detail, but it's a long list of everything everyone's been asking for the email editor. It's drag and drop. There's a few things that great features as far as and familiar things. So things that where you had snippets before, you have fragments, but they work more or less the same. You have instead of lossy scripting, there will be handlebars, which is just a similar language. But the great thing about all these things is whatever emails you have in place now will still continue to work. The old editor will still work, your emails will still work. This will run in parallel to that. So you can get used to it, play around with it at your own pace and get used to it. But it is fantastic. So I highly recommend you. If you haven't gone through the IMS migration, this is great motivation. Do that migration and then you will have this available to you.
I especially love the fragments. They're very similar to snippet, but the main difference that you can edit the content in the
Yes.
email itself. So that makes things amazing because you don't have to like have a template with 200 modules and keep scrolling through the modules. You can go there and add fragments to your emails, which makes life easier. And one very basic thing that I love so much is that you can click on add image and import the image directly in the email. You don't have to open a new Design Studio tab, go there, import the image, get the link, go back to the email. It is such a basic feature, but it makes my life so much easier and I'm very happy it exists.
I'm very excited about the AI features as well coming. Seen some of those and yeah.
Yeah, so a couple of questions
Question
around.
to Josh.
Oh, go ahead.
I think you mentioned about a new email editor. I play around with that in my instance, but I need to know where do I access view the HTML code? You know, in the old email editor, you can see the HTML because I need to update my font, brand guideline with color and all that stuff. But I don't see where I can access the HTML code in the back end.
So there's a few places you can access them in the templates, and then as Lucas was saying, within the fragments, you can access them, access the HTML.
Thank you.
Yeah, there was another question around like the new email editor being available for like creating local assets and programs. I I don't believe it is yet available as local assets, but like I don't want to like speak if I'm like incorrect here. I know this is one thing we're, definitely want to kind of highlight to Adobe. Have any of
Yeah,
y'all had success like setting up the new email editor as local assets yet?
I haven't
no, I
used it.
tried the same yesterday and failed miserably. I
Yep.
think they
So,
have to be on Design Studio for now.
definitely lift that up as an idea. We're gonna, we have relationships with the Adobe product management, and we'll definitely raise that to them. All right. So another question, and I'm going to kind of dovetail this topic into kind of like some of the AI questions you had, is like, so there's a question about achieving process optimization. And are there any features, any upcoming automation features that will help streamline processes and improve efficiency? And there was another question, because I know this is a hot topic, around like AI agents within Marketo. Is that something that we can expect to see in the future or not? Lucas, do you want to take that?
Absolutely. I think there are already many AI improvements coming to Marketo. You'll see some of those in interactive webinars. You'll see some of those in the new email editor. Possibility to generate content with AI is coming, or to change your content with AI. If you are also a AJO B2B customer, you'll see other things coming too, like buying groups with AI and many other cool stuff that we can really talk that much about yet, but know that you can expect that they are coming. As the inside, there are also other offerings out there that you can use to have an agent to help you create your programs and improve your efficiency. So OpenAI Operator launched a few weeks ago, I believe, and like you can already use that to clone a template, fill tokens, all of that automatically. I think there is another company that released a Marketo agent, all good. I think it's the name, but they definitely had a few mugs about it. I can search and find the mug meeting link, and share here on the chat. But these AI agents are already starting to show, and I think they're going to show just more and more. And Marketo is also improving to have some AI features inside of it.
Yeah, on that note, I've been really impressed, like over the last year and a half, with the amount of innovation that Adobe has been putting into like the B2B tech stack around AI. So I don't think it's unreasonable to believe that you're going to start to see some things within the next year or two around those capabilities.
I'd say just wait a few weeks and you probably will see it because they are like right next to the front door, just waiting to be pushed out, and there are very exciting things there.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say AI is going to be integrated into every software package out there, and Adobe is especially the head of the curve, so they are moving quickly with all of that.
Oh, 100%. So let's talk a little bit about like your own personal use of AI. Like how are your work processes changing? How are you recently leveraging AI specifically in a marketing ops context? And then based upon how you're operating, like what are you seeing as like current best practices? Because there's a lot of usage of AI, but I don't know if we've necessarily seen a lot of like best practice development start to pop up. So what are you seeing that you could advise like our audience around like best practices for leveraging AI in their marketing ops lives? Let's go around the panel with this one, because I know all of us are working with these tools now.
Sure. For me, AI is just a force multiplier. It's whatever I'm doing, I can do more of. I'm looking at every process I do, and even any process within my company, and asking, where can I fit AI into this from, creative side and generation, Gen AI, or execution side, doing these monotonous processes through AI. And from there, looking, of course, as a MOPS person, how can I automate this and do this automatically and without me thinking or touching anything? And then if I can't, fully automate something, what's the workflow? How can I take my existing workflow and fit an AI tool in there and get more out of it and quicker?
Yeah, I totally agree with Josh. I think that all the MOPS people very focusing on the how to automate this one. I don't want to do manual, and that's part of very fit with the AI. So AI is not really like the strange item for us, because it's really helpful for a lot of stuff for what we're doing. Is just make our life easier, depending on how you're using it, what you're using it. But yeah, it's make it everything faster.
Yeah. Plus, in addition to what Josh and Mira said, I have been also using AI in multiple use cases in order to do everything faster, I would say. So one of the examples I would say is earlier I used to create test records for testing a campaign manually. Now I use or leverage AI for that. It can create test records that I want based on the fields and the different types of combinations, so that I can test all the edge cases for the campaign. And along with that, of course, the marketing ops team and the creative teams, they are I would say sensibly, they are also using the AI to create content as well as the images. That's also boosting, I would say, efficiency as well as the engagement and conversion rates. And one of the cool use cases that I built and worked around is, deploying a, I would say, personalized lead scoring mechanism that was AI powered. So that involved a lot of heavy lifting and strategy, where we, I would say, exported a lot of activity from the past around scoring, engagement, and conversion, and then built out a scoring model. Basis the AI model. AI model was trained on the past conversion, the scores at which the conversions happened, and the type of engagements that drove out conversions. And based on that, we created in lead conversion plus scoring model and implemented in client's Marketo instance. So that worked really great. And we are constantly looking for more use cases where we can use AI, not only with creatives, not only with images, not only just creating test records, but also to everything that we build in Marketo at an operational level more efficient and in a better way, that could help clients with the conversions, and overall help them with their marketing, running and operating their marketing, I would say, with better conversions.
Just adding to what everyone say, I like to think of AI in two ways. First, how it can augment my tasks and how it can augment the processes that I'm taking care of. So when we're talking about that, because I think it's what most people are doing their day to day, it's going to AI and asking how I do this, or help me improve this code, help me improve this program, this conversational approach that we many times take, and it's very, very helpful, and it augments our skills in the end of the day. I also like, in that same sense, to create custom GPTs that can be helpful for me. So a Marketo email developer, a velocity developer, that it's not very useful anymore because, well, we're going to use handlebars in the future, but it was very useful when velocity existed. And I also like to think of how it can optimize the processes that I'm taking care of. So for example, I think everyone here did the persona segmentation in your Marketo, that you have this logics that, oh, job title contains this, job title contains that. So we developed the use case that you can fine tune and large language model and call it via webhook and automatically classify the persona. So we don't have this logic anymore. And you don't have to go every month and update the job titles there, the AI is taking care of everything for you with a greater accuracy. So these are the two ways that I like to think about AI in MOPS.
Awesome. So I'm going to shift over. We've got a lot of questions in the chat, so I'm going to go through kind of the questions in the chat now. So a question from Allie, just going like earliest to latest. Our team is considering moving from GoToWebinar to the Marketo integrated webinars. 2 thumbs up there. So can you share any insights when it comes where it makes sense to use interactive webinars versus some of the other platforms, so such as Zoom, which is the platform we're on today? What factors should they consider when they're making that switch? So one thing I would like just to start, you do have a number of like interactive webinars that are included in your license. So it is a no risk investment. It requires a little bit of design work to get your backgrounds looking the way you want it. But you do, I believe you have 12 interactive webinar events tied into your subscription. So one thing recommend I would make is like to start with a pilot and just experiment with it and like how you would use it, how you would leverage some of the data, and definitely take advantage of some of the features that are included in there. Because there's a lot of features in interactive webinars that you would get in a very pricey platform such as On24. So you do get a lot of oomph out of the interactive webinar platform.
I really like the interactive webinar platform for all of its features. I mean, if you're already using a webinar, doing webinars, I agree with Chris, run a pilot and try out the interactive webinars. The ability to set up your different screens and set up the different features, personalize it to your branding or whatever you need to do, run polls and things like that. It's fantastic as a standalone webinar platform, but just the fact that it's completely integrated with Marketo seamlessly makes it, next level, especially if you're coming from Marketo, it's perfect.
And you have all the data, right? Not just attended or not attended, but for how long and which questions people answered. So this is great add-on.
You don't have to mess with like setting up your REST API connection, creating like a lot of custom objects, custom activities. Everything's just baked in. All right, so question from Kay on the engagement program. So she's like wants to understand like from y'all best practices on moving people. So she's got a engagement program with 3 streams, and she wants to basically move somebody through a smart campaign from stream 1 to stream 2, stream 2 to stream 3. And I'm supposing, just based on the question, that you're exhausting one stream and you're moving them into the next stream. Is that the best way to read the question?
2 part. Thank you for having me, Chris. So if people engage or fill out form, we want them to move to the stream 3 right away when they submit the form. And when they done exhaust in the stream 1, we want them to move to stream 2 to receive the content. And from the stream 2, if they submit the contact us form, we move them directly to stream number 3. And whoever open the email, click the email, will not receive the resend, but will the one who not open the email, click the email, will receive the resend. So each stream have 4 email. So email 1 will have initial and resend with different subject line. So is it too complicated to do with smart campaign?
I don't think it's like too complicated. It's too complicated maybe to understand on a call. We might need a like something visual, but I can definitely say that since you have all your criterias outlined, you have it well set. Uh, so what you can do is you can create. I would definitely recommend going by smart to transitionary leads from one stream to another stream basis all the criteria that you mentioned. You just need to create separate campaigns, I would say, that would manage the transitions. So for example, you can have a campaign that manage the transitions from stream 1 to stream 2 basis certain criteria that you just mentioned. And this could be a trigger campaign. Alternatively, this could also be a batch campaign. I would say you can create this as a batch campaign because you might not I mean, you could be okay with people transitioning to the stream like next day, because most likely you will not send nurture emails like daily. So you can set it up as a batch campaign, and like the criteria that you mentioned, you can use the activity filters as a as your filtering criteria, and in the flow you can simply use the change engagement program stream, mention the program name in the new stream. For example, if you want to transition people to stream 2, you just select the stream 2. And I also shared the documentation link where it has been mentioned, how you can use the change engagement program stream flow step. So, but yeah, I mean, using smart campaign with the right filtering condition basis what you need should do the trick, I would say. Not too complicated to set up, and I would also recommend you to test this setup thoroughly, because you have like too many conditions going around. You might not want to be in a condition where like there are multiple campaigns firing together like a race condition, and people are like moving from one stream to another stream.
Got it. Thank you. And can I have one more question? How do I schedule my stream cadence? Like each stream you have. Okay, open that. I'm sorry. We just moved from Alaqua to Marketo a couple months ago, and a lot of things for me to learn. That's why I'm having
No
a
problem.
lot of questions.
Yeah, I have sent the link to documentation page where it's outlining how to set the stream cadence. And I would also invite you to Marketing Nation community. Like you can ask questions there. We get many questions around Nurture program around there, and of course other topics around Marketo. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of experts, including champions there who will be keen to answer your questions. So, but at least
Yes.
hopefully this helps somewhat.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And yes, I spend a lot of time on Marketing Nation, the website. I like almost every day to go there and look for answer.
Awesome.
Right. So we got a question. Next question is from Jose. Best practices for allowing power users to view things in the admin module. And I presume that the kind of the thought process behind the question is that you want them to see what's in admin, but you don't, you want to restrict their admin controls. Is that a fair statement?
Hey, thank you. Yes, that's actually, we are doing some governance work internally, and I'm the market manager here in the company. So what we decided to do is to restrict some power users on having access to the admin section in general, but they want to create some custom fields, custom objects to change some other things. So we disallowed that. So I wanted to hear some best practices in general from other companies, or in general, your suggestions regarding this.
Listening that they want to have admin access to create custom fields and custom objects makes me a little itchy, to be honest, because
Yeah.
creating custom fields and custom objects is something that affects like the whole instance and should be centralized. So maybe like I'm guessing here that maybe the issue is not that they don't have access, but that they don't know a process to create, and maybe the company should centralize this process in 2 or 3 people, and create a way so people can request for new custom fields and new custom objects, and they are not creating them manually. Because when you have like a lot of people creating, all of a sudden you have 2,000 custom fields, a lot of them like dietary restrictions, things that you don't actually want to be custom fields. Many times you want to be program member custom fields or things like that, but not custom fields.
Thank you. Just reaffirming my thought. Thank you.
Yeah,
All right.
one,
I'm glad that makes sense.
Yes,
yeah,
it does.
one thing I would definitely recommend, is a lot of that is process, internal process within your company, and having a good intake process for taking some of those requests from your power users and getting them vetted, and with proper SLAs, and also communication channels, so that if you do make a decision not to implement something that's being requested, that they understand the thought process why, and also how they're going to be able to kind of accomplish their work, if those things aren't built out. But of course, you want to build, if you're building it out, you want to make sure it's built scalably, and with the future in mind.
Thank you.
So I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions. We're coming up at time. Question from Matthew. Question about database management syncing to Salesforce. Today, half their database is not marketable. So for a lot of the reasons that we talked about earlier in the session, and they want to clear out those records to reduce their database requirement for cost consideration. They currently have a do not sync rule in Salesforce, but one of their challenges is there's occasions where a person comes back through a form and that do not sync flag is turned on. So I think we've all run into this scenario. So thought process, best practices of how to mitigate where those instances happen.
Stumped everyone.
So I'll have a question for Matthew. So in your Salesforce instance, do you have any types of workflow processes for checking, for lead to account matching, where you have some check when somebody enters Salesforce to check to see, is this new lead actually a contact over here assigned to account A, B, or C?
Yeah, that is something we're working on. That's not usually the problem, though. The problem we're having is more that, we when we implemented 5 years ago, we ingested the entire Salesforce database, which has 30 years of, who the heck knows what. And I've been trying to clear it out and whatnot. But every once in a while, someone comes back through the system, and it's very manual because I have to go and unsync them on the Salesforce side and then bring them back in and then
you have
merge the
dupe roles,
records.
don't you?
Yeah, and in some cases, if it's marked as an invalid email by Marketo, we'll be like, well, this is not a real email address. They're saying they're not real, but then they come back and they're working with a salesperson with that email address. So, I don't really know how to solve that. That's a different issue, I think. But overall, I'm trying to make it easier to manage because it happens enough that it's taking amount of time to fix to manage this, that other than manually, when it happens and alerting me if someone fills out a form who has a do not sync checked off, and fixing it manually, I can't think of another approach. But that's kind of where my question was, this is one of those tougher ones, I think, because there's a lot of customization involved, probably.
I think it would
One thing that
involve flows. Sorry, go on, Darshil.
Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking one thing that you can do is, since you are seeing a lot of these, you can build certain automation in the Salesforce, and what you can do is you can have these people sync over to market or from Marketo to Salesforce and build certain automation. And I'm sure there are I'm not a Salesforce pro, but we have had similar kinds of issue in the past, and what we did, we allowed Salesforce to tackle these kind of things. So all the merges and all the duplication, like deduplication, would happen at the Salesforce end, because the previous record that's already been deleted from Marketo is living at the Salesforce. It's not in Marketo. Marketo only has the new record that needs to be merged with the Salesforce record that was already there. So what you can probably try pondering around, maybe you would have to sit a bit with your Salesforce guy and see if there's any possibility where they can build certain automation wherein if you sync this new record that's not synced with Salesforce, you sync it with Salesforce, and Salesforce can identify, and of course Salesforce can it does identify the duplicate records, and you can build certain automation around that when that there is a duplicate record created in Salesforce as lead record. You can take care of merging that at the Salesforce end. And of course, you would want to have the previous record that has all the activities and history be the winning record. And then maybe you uncheck the, like the do not sync field at the Salesforce, and then have that record once merged the Salesforce and sync back to Marketo. Something of this sort you can try, I would say.
Okay, yeah, it's something to think about.
Yeah,
it's gonna be more complicated than I think that, but yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, you might want to have a conversation with your Salesforce admin about like relaxing your duplicate rules. I had a client that like had this particular issue, and like I definitely understand your pain. But what you could do, and I'm assuming you have some type of lead to account matching. You've got like a lean data, traction complete, open price, one of those solutions in place, is to like within Salesforce, like create an exception process where Marketo is allowed to create a duplicate, and then you use that lead to account matching tool to find duplicate emails, and then like use those capabilities to merge the records, uncheck the box, so you're not running into duplicate issues in the future. Unfortunately, a lot of these issues happen because like our Salesforce admins use the duplicate block rules as a hammer, and unfortunately they impact us when they do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that. So no, this is making me think about this. So I do appreciate the answer.
Right.
Or the
Appreciate
conversation.
Well, thank you all so much. We're at time. And I speak for my fellow panelists that we really enjoyed answering your questions. We hope that you found this very helpful today.
Yeah, thank you.
My questions when
Thank
I
you
see
so much,
what
everyone.
next.
Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.